So, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So, let's get started with our opening prayers and then we will get into the topic of our discussion where we are going to talk about. We've been doing sadhana for a while. How do I know I'm truly progressing or regressing, right? So, what are some of the yardsticks we can employ to say that, yeah, I'm doing all right or I'm not doing all right? So, let me share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay, are you able to see it?
Yes, you're going to go to the full screen mode.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, let's start with our opening prayers. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् Radhe Radhe, a very warm welcome to all of you. So let's get started. Today we will directly get to the shloka because we want to conclude this shloka that we've been doing for a while so that we can move on to the next one. So I will recite it. We'll pick up three hands and then we will get started like we always do. Ihaiv terjitah sargo isham samye sthitam manah निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः. Okay, let's take three hands and then we get started.
Okay, Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Hey, Radhe
राधे
Radhe.
राधे राधे इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः.
Very nice, thank you. Let's take two more hands.
Uday ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे इहैव तेर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्मा तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe, very nice.
I'll go ahead.
Sure, last one, go ahead.
इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः.
Very nice, thank you. Oh, give me a sec, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so let's get started on this one. Before that, I wanted to take a question. Somebody asked yesterday in the feedback tracker, can I ask God to take away my pain and forgive my past karma? So yeah, so that forgiveness, see the karam aspect, the prarabdha aspect of it, something it's like an arrow that has already been shot. So arrow that has already been shot cannot be taken back. That means you have to deal with your karma. Having said that, yes, God can actually burn off the stockpile of our karmas when we surrender, perfectly surrender. That is his condition. Now, there are other ways to do that as well, right? Our scriptures, like I said, it is a journal store. So there are certain penances, I hope my pronunciation is right, that you can perform to absolve yourself of certain sins that you may have done. This is in Hindi called Paschataps. Now, rather than getting into all that stuff, because we have done infinite bad karmas, because we have led infinite lives, and even if we have done one bad karma in one life, it's already a big stockpile. Because firstly, we may not have the knowledge. Even when we have the knowledge, still we are not able to make right choices. So rather than trying to worry about our past karmas and the sins that we have done, the better strategy is to deepen our devotion and the spirit of surrender so that one day we perfect it. And then God has promised in Bhagavad Gita that when you do that, I'm going to burn the entire stockpile of your bad karmas, which is his huge mercy because he also understands that otherwise it's a zero-sum game. We'll do some good deeds, some bad deeds, all that stuff will keep on happening. So rather than worrying about that and then doing paschatap for things that you remember, it's better to deepen devotion and perfect that spirit of surrender. That is a better alignment of your, efforts and which will give us the long-term results as well. So that is a better way of looking at it. Otherwise, how many sins can we think about? Maybe something that we remember from this life. How about previous life? How about the one prior? So there's no point in going that far back. Right? So instead of that, we simply focus on deepening our devotion. That will anyway take us closer to surrender. And when we perfect our surrender, everything will be taken off. Now, asking God to take your pain away is like telling God, hey, can you take my prarabdha off? Just like that. Even God, when he takes an avatar, he also binds himself with a prarabdha. He also closes his pastime and takes, some kind of an excuse to close his pastimes. Even saints, when they come, they also take on a prarabdha. Although their prarabdha is burnt, they are not obliged to. But to honor God, they take on a prarabdha. They take on this body and they also go through whichever that prarabdha. Okay, somebody may have to take on a cancer, like we know some of the sages, they were suffering from cancer or could be anything. It's a different thing that they are beyond this bodily they are vide. They don't undergo the pain that we would normally undergo, but they take on a prarabdha just to honor God's law. So asking God to take away our pain, rather than that, we should focus on, working on deepening our love, devotion, and surrender towards God, and let Him do His job around the karma aspect of it. If we are truly concerned about getting out of this cycle of life and death, then we should focus on the message of Lord Krishna, where he's telling us that whose minds are established in equality of vision conquer the cycle of birth and death in this very life itself. So we should focus on that aspect as opposed to having some kind of a hack through God. Okay. Because prarabdha is prarabdha, something which is already short, we have to go through regardless. Only when you surrender, perfect your surrender, you can do that. Or there are penances. You can go through that process, which is again, how many penances can we go through? And there's a saying in English, right? Um, every uh, saint has a past and every sinner has a future. And one of the most comforting or reassuring definition of God is Patit Pavan. Because for us to become, asking God that one of our definition is Bhakta Vatsal, we have to become a good Bhakta first. Now, becoming a good devotee is quite an ask. And then if you talk about God being Deen Bandhu, we have to become really Deen, very humble. That is another way. If you become truly humble, God will become your friend. But the best one for us from a practical standpoint is Patit Pavan. Now, if we are sinner, all of us are. That is why we are repeating here. But God is Patit Pavan. But the problem is our ego comes in the way. We don't truly agree that we are fallen souls. If we truly agree that God is more than happy to do the Patit Pavan job, it's his job is to clean us, right? God is like that laundry man who will take your dirty mind, clean it, and give it back to you with an upgrade. So, getting back to the question, we should not ask God for these kind of things. In fact, anything that is worth asking to God is more of his seva, sadbuddhi, his darshan, love, having those kind of things which are spiritually end of the day with we ask God things that we can utilize for his service alone, right? So that's the right thing to ask as opposed to telling God to take away my misery and stuff like that. Because anyway, prarabdha is prarabdha, right? We have to deal with it. Why to lose out on an opportunity to ask God for something that can truly benefit us? So this shloka, we have been talking about tools. How do we establish ourselves in equality of vision? And we said detachment of mind is very important. Our mind is currently attached to the world. And as part of that series, we have spoken or discussed 6 tools. And today we are going to discuss the last one, the 7th one. Okay, so let's directly get started with that. So this says that be patient when practicing detachment. Okay, this patient is not the one which is in hospital. So you need to exercise patience is what it means. Our material mind is more difficult to control than the wind. Thus, we must be patient with ourselves and not expect overnight results. It's a very important thing to understand. Thus, mind itself is very, very turbulent and more difficult to control than the wind, like Arjun has said in Bhagavad Gita, I think 6.33, 6.34, that he says that chanchalam hi manah Krishna, that this man is very chanchal. Chanchal, we know, right? Naughty, difficult. And then Vayuriva Sudushkaram, he says that it is more difficult, it is easy to control wind than the mind. And Lord Krishna, in response to that, he says, Asansham hi Mahabaho, that I completely agree that what you are saying is right. And that is Arjun saying, not an ordinary person who's saying that. That same Arjun, who could focus on the eye of the bird. The same Arjun who would look at only at the feet of Urvashi, because technically in a way she was her mother, although Indra thought that he's going to send Urvashi so that she can enamor him and stuff like that. So that Arjun, who had so much of willpower and focus, is saying that. But then Lord Krishna goes on to say that it's mana durnigraham chalam. Durnigraham, he's not saying anigraham. Anigraham means impossible. Durnigraham means difficult. It's difficult but not impossible. So the saying also says now we have to be patient with that. We have to be patient and go through this journey and not expect overnight results. Okay. Even the journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step, as there's a famous saying. So now this is one of the things people usually come. I have been doing sadhana for so long. When will I get darshan? And then sadhana for so long. Am I progressing at all? Right? These kind of self-doubts keep cropping up in our head from time to time. So you just have to wait. Wait, because things take their own time. And let's talk about some of the yardstick we can employ to see whether we are progressing or not. Right? That is the second question. And when will I get darshan? That is also we'll tackle part of it, right? Darshan means maybe somewhere in our mind we have this kind of an expectation that if we have done this much of sadhana, now I have gained eligibility for darshan. Or if we have done this much of sadhana, I have gained eligibility for darshan. Now, let's say this much of sadhana enables you or gives you the eligibility for darshan. That means this much of sadhana is the price for God's darshan. Then everybody would pay the price and get the darshan, right? It's a very simple thing, but you're willing to pay. You put in. The scriptures say you do this much of sadhana, this much of austerity, this much of penance, this much of chanting, this much of dhyan, this much of meditation, and you'll see God. But no scripture is saying that. He says only God knows. Okay, when he holds that card, ultimate card with him, and we'll talk about that as well. But let's first get into, I've been doing sadhana for so long. Am I progressing at all? This question, if that crops up in your mind, let's try to have a bit of a discussion around it. Okay. Now, the first aspect of it is, yardstick of it is frequency. Okay, frequency of what? Frequency of conflicts, fights that you used to have or you are having or you're likely to have. Okay, this should decrease. Okay, frequency of your anger bouts that come, right? Some people, they carry anger here, hammer trying to find a nail. Come across those people. They're just looking out for opportunities to pick up a fight. You say, like Bikram Betal, you've seen that serial. Like Betal used to say, you speak, the moment you speak, I'm going to run away. So the moment you do anything, I'm going to pick up a fight with you. So that frequency should decrease. Feelings of loneliness, sadness, etc. Right? I am alone and all those kind of depressive feelings that we get into at time, that should decrease as well. I mean, it's not all encompassing. We can have people chime in. Feelings of jealousy. Somebody else has it, I don't have it, right? That pie is limited. If somebody has it, then I don't have it. If somebody gets it, I'm losing out on something. Fear of missing out and stuff like that. Feelings of bitterness, resentment, hatred. That is a sure shot sign. If you are bitter, resentment, and hatred, and you think it is your daibak, entitlement because something happened to you because of somebody. Of course, that's the sure short way that that frequency has not decreased. Feelings of lust and desire for the world, right? Sensual desires and desire for worldly things. Now, all of these, that's not, like I said, it is not all encompassing, but it kind of gave you a gist, right? Some of the stuff, the frequency of this should decrease. All of these things, if it is not decreasing, you think that some of these feelings are perpetually with you, or some of these feelings, um, it just keeps on recurring and there is no improvement in that, that means something is not right. Some course correction is needed in the practice that you are doing. So this is a sure shot yardstick. Calm, Krodh, Lobh, all that stuff we spoke about. It should decrease. The frequency of it should decrease over time. Anybody who wants to add anything more or has any question on this before I move to the next two things? So this first is a frequency. So sure, it's not that you are going to overcome anger, but the frequency will decrease. It's not like every day it's happening previously like it used to be. So that should actually decrease. And why would it decrease? Because your threshold or tolerance around that thing is probably increasing. First, if somebody talks to you, may become angry. Second would be somebody provokes you, you will become angry. Third, it will be like if somebody really hits you, then you'll be angry. And fourth could be, hits you and does something insulting and all. So basically, threshold could keep on increasing around the same thing previously that you would take too much seriously in your head and create a lot of turmoil, and a storm would get raised right in your head. Now that would get raised, should start reducing. That is the first sign, whether it's related to anger, conflicts, the negative feelings that we get into, right? Becoming pessimistic about life and stuff like that, becoming jealous of people, all these negative sentiments or negative energy, so to say, it should, the frequency or the recurrence of that, previously if you would feel it every day, maybe it's happening less frequently during the day or less frequently during the week and month, right? That is a self-assessment we can carry out to see if there is some kind of an improvement in these areas or not. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to ask something?
Um, okay, one addition from Prachiji, feeling of criticism, pessimism also decreases.
Mm-hmm.
One question from Kaniji, feeling of desire, do they include normal day-to-day worldly desires, work-related aspirations?
Desires, yeah, it's worldly ambitions. You have right, worldly ambitions. It kind of start getting settled down. And those desires, Rajasic desires are what, right? I want this, I want that, wish I could have that bigger, better, that kind of a thing. That is there. That doesn't mean you're not ambitious, but then you put it in perspective. Yes, you have to put your skills to the best use, whatever skills God has given you, but then you don't crave for it, that I absolutely need it. You may desire for it so that you can expand your bubble as a human or evolve, but not to that I want to enjoy fame, money, and stuff like that. So those desires also start getting a little finer and a little polished at the back of your mind as well. Even
Um,
it might be worldly desires, yeah.
and I also have a question. So, suppose someone, first of all, a comment like, I really love this walking F. It's very catchy, attractive. And question, if someone is not able to evaluate if the frequency has really changed, or maybe out of humility, they are not looking at that side of progress. So, course correction may not be very obvious that where is it that I'm going wrong, and hence I don't see a significant enough change in this. So, patience is the only solution.
Patience. No, what is it about reading self-assessment or what?
Mm-hmm.
Self?
Self-assessment, I would say, yeah.
No, I think a spiritualist needs to have self-awareness. That is very much needed. So whether it is journaling or otherwise understanding, because without something that you can't measure, you can't improve.
बट
So
अगर मेजर करके आउट ऑफ ह्यूमिलिटी ऐसा लग रहा है कि नहीं, आई एम लाइक स्टिल अ वेरी पतित individual and have not improved along these
Mhm.
aspects and
So that
course.
a spiritualist is never content, basically. That
Mm-hmm.
what I'm improved. So that feeling is a fine feeling because you're not content that okay, I have progressed enough. So that feeling is not bad as long as it is not pulling you down perpetually. It is fine. You continue to crave to do better, right? I have not progressed. It is fine to have that emotion as long as you are utilizing it for your further growth. But if it is pulling you down and you're becoming negative, then again, some course correction is needed. Right? A devotee is always optimist. They always look at the positive side of things. They are always looking ahead rather than focusing on the negative and pulling themselves down with this kind of a thought process. Even that is not good. That means God trusts you and you don't trust yourself. You're letting God down in that sense, right? So you have to have hope. That person who's banking on you, which is God and Guru himself, of course, you are putting in your best and you will improve. There's no other way why you won't. There's a story of a guru and a disciple where they were working in a coal mine. So they had a basket which was all black. So Guru says, go and get some water from the river to his disciple. So disciple goes and gets some water in that basket, and that basket was perforated. So all the water trickled down, leaked through by the time he reached back. So Guru says, go back again. He goes back again. Again, the same thing happened. Basket is the same. Then he says, go back again. He goes back again. And then again he comes back. And after 6 or 7 trips, finally disciple asked Guruji, Guruji, you are asking me to do the thing. Nothing is happening. I'm getting there and getting the basket back, but it's not able to retain the water. Guru said, look at the basket. When you started off with it, it was all black. Now look at it. It was all clean. So point is incremental progress is happening. It's like it's not possible that you are trying to align to these principles. You have that chintan, however that little that practice might be. Even Bhagavad Gita, it says that even a little progress or a little thought that you put in can actually is never lost. It is a perpetual asset for you. Now, if you're not satisfied with your progress, sure, I mean, increase the dose or figure out ways to accelerate it, but don't become pessimistic about it. That's not the way to look at it. You have to figure out ways, be realistic about your situation, and then continue to progress as best as you can. And there are definitely options to accelerate it. But as long as you are focusing on the fundamentals and doing your best, be optimistic. Because when we start aligning to negative energies, they bring more of it. It's like weeds. When some weeds start growing in your garden, it will bring its cousins, friends, and other friends, some similar friends as well. Same thing, when we start tuning into the negative energy, it will bring in more of it. So better thing is to tune into the positive energy, be optimistic. We look at, again, we forget the gratitude and the graces that we have received. We are getting this knowledge. We have an opportunity to contemplate upon it. We have the opportunity to do seva. We have the opportunity to be part of, a satsang. We have the opportunity to contribute in so many ways. We have an able body. So many things that you can think about. So that will bring in the positivity and then suppress or dilute or substitute those negative feelings. It's very important to have that part. But this frequency is one of the sure shot yardsticks to evaluate, are we progressing or are we regressing? Miss
Uh,
Samiran, you want to ask something?
yeah, and after him, actually, there's a request from Manisha Leaf. After this, you could also once share the sixth point again, like of detaching the mind. So, yeah. Radhe Radhe Samiran, please go ahead.
Yes, Samiran.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I wanted to talk about the point of loneliness
Mhm.
because when something goes bad or when someone has a heartbreak, it is very easy to the first thing one gets a thought that nobody is mine and nobody belongs to me, nobody cares about me. But when everything is going fine and we have like in situations where we are like we are there and the situation is not in our favor and we have friends, we have relatives, those who are there to help in just in one call. So in that situations, how can one feel that no one is mine and like I am all like the reality is I am alone.
No, is it that because you feel let down by them? What is the question?
When situations are in not in favor, like we are in problem, and when we call our friend, he tells like, "क्या हुआ भाई मैं पहुंचता हूँ." In
Okay.
that situation kind of thing, how can one feel that I am alone or
So
only
I'm
God is
saying
mine?
if you have feelings of loneliness, sadness, then that means that frequency should reduce. Sure, if you think you can look at positively around it, a friend has come to help you, that is fine. You are at least aligning to positive. We are not yet there where we think only Krishna is mine, right? God is with me. I don't need anybody. But if you're getting to a loneliness or into a rut, right, that thinking process that people become depressed, right? Nobody's there, nobody cares for me. If that is happening recurringly to you, that more than previously, before you started on this path, that means some course correction needs to happen on what the kind of practice that you are doing. Because with devotion, that feeling should subside over time, or at least diminish. Then you look more at the positive things, people who are supporting you and things like that, as opposed to focusing on, all the reversals that you're getting in life or support that you're not getting from people. So it's the other way around. It should reduce. I'm not saying it should increase. Yeah. Okay. So first is frequency. Again, we can come back if there's anything more. Second is, yes, Tejas, intensity. Let me introduce this as well. You see this volcano? This is the intensity when it comes out. So the intensity of negative emotions, anger, jealousy, hatred, it should reduce. So F-I and third is going to be R. You can remember it. Fear, F-I-R. So frequency should decrease, intensity should decrease as well. So previously you will be like, oh my God, going to bring the house down, or you may even go and beat somebody up. Now it's like you feel something twitch and but not as bad. Maybe you'll abuse somebody. Third, no, you'll not abuse somebody, but probably feel bad in the heart. Fourth is, you feel something, but you're able to control it. Fifth is you are completely at peace. Maybe you can laugh it off, right? Not irritate the other, but yeah. So the intensity should also diminish over a period of time. We cannot uproot this defect completely as long as we are under Maya. But if this intensity is increasing or you are able to sustain it, like people are talented enough to sustain it, right? That means, again, there is a problem. So intensity should decrease, frequency should decrease. Yes, Tejas, let's take a question and then we can move ahead.
Yeah, Tejas, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe. So I want to go back to the previous point, like you said, loneliness, right? So I have a different perspective. So when you're lonely, if you're associating yourself with negative thoughts, then it's a bad thing. But if you're lonely, and if you're, let's say, you're lonely and you're doing something productive work, your mind is focused on something productive or something positive, then loneliness is not a bad thing, right?
True. Feelings of loneliness means where you are complaining about it in your head.
Yeah.
You have solitude, your own time. Sure, people, introverts, they are always, they like to be with themselves. In fact, there is a saying, right? If you don't like your company, then you are missing out on an intelligent person to converse with. So if you don't like your company, then there is a big problem. So, but the problem is not everybody is made for solitude. Now, if you are lonely and that hurts you from within, that is what we are talking about. That feeling should reduce over time. In fact, you should enjoy, speaking to yourself. And you see a lot of people who get into spirituality, they are by themselves, right?
Right.
They don't need anybody. In fact, they want to be by themselves because they are enjoying that meditative rasa or thinking about God and stuff like that. But on the other side, there are people who are complaining, world is not, I don't have friends. This guy ditched me. This was what I like. This guy, that complaint should reduce over time, is essentially what I'm trying to say here.
Right. So when you're lonely and when you have control over your thoughts, that's when it becomes productive, or it becomes your constructively to become your friend rather
True.
than.
Very true. Yep. Yes, Andy?
Yeah, and just to add from Manisha Di, being alone is good, feeling lonely is not
Yeah. Yes.
I say,
Yes.
wow. Very
good.
That was a point.
Okay, and I think I have received requests from two people that we have discussed the practical ways number 5 and 6. So maybe once we finish FIR, if you could once show those slides as well.
which slide you're talking about?
So today we are discussing number 7, right? So number 5 and 6, practical ways of detachment.
Number 5 and 6, they'll get asked in quiz and even I don't remember. No, I'll
No,
bring.
if you have the slide, you could show after you
Sure, I
complete.
can do that after this. I can pull
Yeah.
up the slide for you so that we can quickly peruse through all the 7 ones. Okay. So the first one we spoke about, frequency should decrease. Second is the intensity should decrease as well, right? You see the intensity that we bring to a particular emotion, that emotion will not completely go away, but at least that intensity should diminish over time. That is another yardstick, whether you are progressing or regressing. Okay. Whether it's anger, whether it's jealousy, whether it's hatred, whether it's resentment, however you are venting out, that should decrease over time, right? So this is again a yardstick to actually evaluate that. Yes, Seena ji.
Radhe Radhe Seena ji. Um,
Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri
Yeah,
Krishna.
so basically I just wanted to add, like, it is like, is it something like, once now we are doing bhakti, but once we start getting this bhakti in our day to day day to day usage, like, अगर ये भक्ति अपन हमारे व्यवहार में आ जाएगी, then is it like following those principles, the ones you are talking about, it's very easy to attain those? Is that something you're trying to, I
Yes,
mean, is that the message?
yes. So we are talking about the the yardsticks or the things that you can evaluate yourself upon. So yes, if you are doing bhakti, we have spoken about bhakti. Bhakti is a silver bullet. Silver bullet means all these good emotions, good things, the Davic guna, so to say, will start manifesting in you when you start doing bhakti. That is the beauty of attaching our mind to God, right? His Naam, Gun, Roop, Leela, Dham, that Chintan, serving Him with love, building that part, right? And trying to align to His message. That is bhakti. So when you do that, all these things will automatically start diminishing. But the question was, when we try to detach our mind from the world, right? Bhakti will enable that. How do we measure that we are progressing or not? And that is where as part of the last tool, some people, they keep on asking, am I progressing, am I regressing? I have not had darshan of God. I've been doing chanting for so long and devotion for so long. I have not seen any realization or some kind of a miracle. Those kind of question I'm trying to tackle here, that these are the emotions that you can evaluate yourself upon to see whether you are progressing or regressing. But yes, to your point, if you do bhakti, if this is not decreasing, something is missing. That means your mind is not in bhakti, it's still in world, and that needs to be increased, or the dose of bhakti has to be increased. That is essentially
Thank
what
you.
it means. Thank you, Sinaji. Where are you
Thank you,
joining us
Radhe
from?
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining for you from Frisco only.
Oh, Frisco only. All right.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood. Yeah, good to hear from you. Thank you. So moving on, this is the F, I, and the last one is R, which is recovery. Okay, recovery, you see, this is how we recover. So the recovery time for all these things, episodes are going to happen in our life. The recovery time should diminish as well. Okay, from failures, from negative episodes, material reversals, all these things, which is going to happen. It is bound to happen. The recovery time would be shorter. That is the third yardstick. Now, previously, you would pick up a fight with somebody and you will not talk to that person for years. It can happen, okay, in families where they have stopped speaking to each other and they've never spoken to each other after that. And then how they will call each other that to Papu ki mummy, Papu apni mummy ko bolna, and then Papu becomes the conduit, right? Anyways, the point here is that it can happen where you pick up something and you never pick up on that, right? You never pick up a phone with that friend who hurt you. Failures. When the failures happen, Kabir ji has also said that Sona Sajjan Sadhu Jan टूटे जुड़े सौ बार दुर्जन कुंभ कुमार के धक्का देर धरार. So people who have virtues or who have saintly qualities, you cannot break them. I mean, they'll fall down, they'll have failures and do whatever you want, but they will rise up again. That is how they are made up of. But if you do not have that spiritual understanding and do not have those, understanding of the deeper spiritual principles, then one episode in life and that will break you forever. So another reason for us to invest in spirituality, why? Because it will build our inner resilience around these failures and negative episodes and material reversals. That is a part and parcel of life. Nobody can claim they have not had reversal in life. Everybody is challenged in their own way. So these situations, then you will be able to handle it better. And it is said in English, there is a saying that you don't dig a well when your house is on fire. Okay, when somebody is going through some bad episode in life, if some bad material reversal in life, and you go tell them about God, hey, acceptance, karam yog, they will say, just go away. We don't want to hear about it. On the contrary, they may even turn negative towards God, that God has, why did he did it to me and stuff. So when the time is good, it is important to invest our time wisely and build these assets. It's like building those cushions and padding. So when you are going on a road, the bumps would come, it will give you that cushion. And that won't matter at all. It will become irrelevant. You will see it in perspective as opposed to becoming negative and then falling down. People have one bad experience and they start painting the entire world like that. Right? Somebody says all brokers are like that because one broker cheated them. Somebody says all guys are like that or some girls are like that because one bad experience and that's about it. Doesn't work like that. So spirituality tells us don't paint the world with a broad brush, and how to quickly rise from failures, negative episodes, and material reversals, which are anyway going to happen. Look, there are so many stories where people's life, they have actually resurrected. They have like risen from ashes, like Phoenix. Phoenix is where I've come. I mean, I used to stay. So their lives have been like completely wiped off in so many ways. And again, and this guy, Honda Saichiro, I mean, if you hear his stories, how he continued to have that resilience and finally created an empire of Honda. I mean, I'll bring that story, but there are too many stories around that. How people are able to rise from failures and not let one incident spoil their entire journey. Okay. So that recovery has to be quicker. That is another yardstick you can employ to see how you're able to take those kind of a thing. There's a saying in Japanese also, Nana Karobi Aoki. I don't know how to pronounce it. Nana can mean a lot of things, right? Depending on which language you subscribe to. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. And it's from a Bible directly. It says, for a righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity. Now, just look at, the messages, the coherence that we have. Bible is saying that, Kabir Jasi is saying that, Bhagavad Gita is telling that as well. Yes, Abaji had a question.
Radhe Radhe Abaji, please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, Abaji.
Radhe Radhe, just a question regarding the mind of detachment. It's not related, but it is. Is it important to chant a certain number of hours, certain number of times, or is it?
Good question. Now I'll tell you the formula basically, which will give us the eligibility to get, what we are looking for. So this question, how long it will take when I get darshan, right?
No. Like when you sit down for, I'm not asking, well, of course I'm asking for darshan, but I'm asking people say, like example, in Buddhism, they say you chant for 3 hours every single.
Okay. So let me put this way. It's quality over quantity. Now let's say you have done it for 3 hours, but it is mechanical, right? And that has not increased, or you were not able to think about God or take your mind to God, right? But you have done the drill, tick, tick, 3 hours thing is checked. On the other hand, it's 30 minutes or maybe 3 minutes, but you were really able to take your mind to God. And if you could think about God in a loving sentiment, even better. So it's quality over quantity in that sense. Because when you will do it for 3 minutes and your mind is truly getting absorbed in God, then those 3 hours will not even seem like 3 hours. People, why do they get to samadhi? They are so intoxicated, they don't know how to get out. So then it doesn't become a mechanical drill for us to just do that. Like number of rounds I have to do, 3 hours I have to do. But then rituals takes precedence and then we forget about why we were doing it. So it's quality over quantity, I would say in that sense. And that quality will automatically lead to quantity when you start relishing that. Problem happens when we start making it a ritual, starts taking precedence over why we were doing it, and then we lose the sense of it.
Thank you.
Can I also ask
Sure.
follow-up? So yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes people find it hard to get the quality in the beginning, right? So then if they just start with quantity, just like you said, quality will automatically lead to quantity. Is the other way around also true?
Yeah,
Like,
fake it until you make it, huh?
and yeah, I mean, genuinely, if someone is not getting the feeling to start with,
No,
even if
that's
they just
that's
start,
true. That's true. See, God again goes back to the same thing. You start getting into something, right? Routine. And then, of course, your mind will start cooperating after a while. So, yes, you force yourself. It's not, otherwise, you will continue to wait forever.
correct, exactly,
Precious
yeah.
time would be lost. So, few things we have to force ourselves. Let's go with quantity. Let's make it a ritual. Let's make it a discipline, and then in due course of time, things will start falling in place. But then the expectation is beyond a point, you don't limit yourself to that ritual alone, empty ritual alone. You need to start, focusing on why I started it to begin with. But yes, to
Yeah, the
begin with, your
intent.
mind will not naturally go. Then you have to start building it as part of the routine itself. That's a good
And
question.
just to add to it, like for example, Balmiki ji, he
Mhm.
couldn't even say Ram, like because of whatever, right? So he started with Mara, and that also like ultimately led him to start saying Ram and reach at whatever stage he could, right?
True. And the key part of that, it is a beautiful lecture around that. Okay, it's not the Mara. The key thing is he was Sharnagat to his Guru's word.
Guru,
His
correct,
Guru
yeah.
had said, just keep on saying Mara Mara. He didn't do Kantu Perantu. Okay, for how long? When will you come back? If you don't come back, what happens? Nothing. He's just continued to do that. So that Sharanagati part of it is what he reaped the dividend for. That brings me to this a good segue to the next slide, but and then I can take the remaining questions as well. I really wanted to quickly cover that. There are two aspects to our one is sadhan bhakti that we do throughout, and second is the grace aspect of it. Okay, now we'll talk about that grace that is needed for us for our realization. Okay, both are needed. So our effort and the grace aspect of God, and grace is a must have. Now, what do we do? Price of grace, like we said, like Abhaji, you asked if we do any of it, can we get grace of God? We need grace of God for realization. That is a key ingredient. Shall we say, if I'm going to read all the scriptures, people say I need to do Swadhyaya, I've completed Bhagavatam this many times, I've done Ramayana this many times, meditating 10,000 hours, okay, chanting million times. Now, Avaji, coming back to your question, people say 3 crore times. So let's say you do million times, you make it a target of your life, 1,000 lifetimes of austerities and penances. So the point is, none of it would suffice. Why? Because the cost, otherwise it would become cost to purchase God's grace. And if God's grace is priceless and infinite, you cannot put a price tag to it. And when do you get it? Then the question is, if I can't put a price tag, then what do I do? Now, the only condition to attract it is surrender, Sharanagati. That's it. You surrender and grace is all yours. So how do we perfect surrender? Just can we get it by doing our rituals? Yes, to begin with, sure, rituals help us train our mind and get into a routine and bring in the discipline that is needed. But beyond a point, we have to get to the essence of that. Why am I doing this ritual? If you're loving God, you are already fulfilling the whole purpose of scriptures. You're already, all rituals is giving us a platform or a reason or a, discipline to take our mind to God. But we should not limit it to ritual alone. Then end game is to develop love, affection, faith for God. If you're already doing that, even if you're doing it 15, 20, 30 minutes, that itself is good enough as opposed to doing it for 5 hours or 10 hours, right? Where you're doing it more mechanically. So that's the key thing to understand. And when you do that, it'll automatically take you closer to the spirit of surrender. Because when you start building a relationship with somebody, and here you're trying to build a relationship with God, right? So love will increase, and when the love will keep on increasing, the surrender will also keep on increasing. You'll have acceptance around things. Prasad buddhi. Okay, this thing happened. That's good. Good, I got reversal in material life. Now I'll not get attached to the world. Otherwise, if things were favorable, I would have been playing with the same game for the rest of my life. So it's a good thing actually. We think it's a bad thing that has happened. It's actually a good thing. It will not build your attachment in the world. So reversals and God, when he starts taking your heart, right, he starts liking you and he wants to get you closer, he'll give you reversal in the world, material world. If he's giving you more of the world, then that means you're not ready as yet. So that is how the principle works in the spiritual realm. Okay, Tejas, now we can take a few questions and have a bit of a discussion too.
Yes, Tejas, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So I had again going back to the chanting, like chanting it 10,000 times or for 2 hours or 3 hours. So the ultimate goal is, like you said, you mentioned about quality, and also you need to have that flow state, right? Like whenever you're doing something, your mind will always be wavering, but it will take some time to get that flow state and have that complete presence of mind only on God. So I
Uh,
think that is the main crux, right? Like you need to build that stamina of kind of making that presence of mind only in God, and not to waver or not to focus on the ritual or anything else.
True. Yeah, see, ritual is a good way to start, but then your mind has to be in God. Because if you're doing a ritual, like our scriptures also say, you are where your mind is. So let's say you're doing
Mhm.
chanting. whatever chanting that might be. And your mind is in, oh my God, the milk is there on the gas. Has it come? The milkman has come. Okay, I need to get ready. So if wherever your mind is, that's the result you're going to get. You're actually multiplying that thing by zero. And that is the
Right.
problem that we have repeated lifetime after lifetime. We have done our rituals, we have done our puja, but our mind has been somewhere else. God says, no, I only need your mind, nothing else. Everything else belongs to me anyways. Give me your mind, and that's what you'll get credit for. Mansi Bhakti is the key thing, and it is a very important key concept from a spiritual standpoint. We think whatever is happening here does not matter. Whatever we are doing through mouth and through our senses and Gyan Indriya, Karam Indriya, that matters. No, in God's sense, only whatever is happening in your mind is what you will get credit for. And when it talks about surrender, God is seated within us, Paramatma, right? He's polling us every moment to see is the surrender done or not, done or not. So even if become Sharanagat, a fraction before we die, job is done. So he keeps on checking what is the level of our surrender. Are we there? Are we there? And he knows. And he says the moment we do surrender, there's not even a nanosecond difference, between grace and surrender. That okay, he's going to wait and it will come immediately. You get that. That is
And
how
when you reach that, and when
perfect
you
it
reach
was.
that point, you kind of cut off your attention on everything else that's going around, right? That is the ultimate place you want to
True.
be.
That is the whole idea because initially it will not happen. Our mind is so conditioned, it will automatically go. So in sadhan bhakti, our mind is in world, we take it forcefully to God, right? It will go back, again go back, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. That struggle will continue. And then as you keep on progressing, of course, it will become easy. With practice, like anything else becomes easy. And then you step into bhav bhakti. Now in bhav bhakti, say the reverse will start happening. Now your mind is in God. And then you
True.
have to do reverse to step back to operate effectively in this world, right? It's a good state to be in.
Hmm. So the positive side effect of this is it will increase your focus on your mind's focusing ability also in somewhere.
True, very true,
Yeah.
very true. That's true. Focusing ability as well. Yeah. See, if you look at meditation, it actually what are the skills that are needed to do meditation? I will, I won't, and I must. All three are included. You are exerting your willpower, you are exerting your why power, both. So
Nice.
people who can meditate, they are actually making their prefrontal cortex and pretty much all the components of brain that we spoke about really fertile.
Strengthening it.
They're strengthening it in a big way. So meditation is like the thing that anybody can do. And Maharaj Ji has given us Rup Dhyan meditation. He said, if you are putting in so much of intensity and focus, why not reap the maximum benefit out of it by focusing on God? It will purify it as well. And that is what we are trying to do in spirituality anyways. So Rup Dhyan is like the thing to do. It's not easy to do that because our pravritti, our conditioning will not let it do it. Mind says, no, I need material ras only. But if you can somehow continue to strive and continue to, then that's the best gift we can give ourselves. Yes, Chandruji, you wanted to ask something?
Chandruji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Uh, my question was on the previous slide that just went by. It said the wicked will fall from calamity. Explain what calamity and give an example on that statement.
Okay, so calamity, I think I've taken it from Bible.
Not the screen, one before this.
Okay, I wanted to bring in, are you able to see the screen by the way?
The 6 points.
Yeah, I wanted to show you all the six. Okay, somebody had asked for it, so I wanted to show you really quickly.
But
And,
right now, we are seeing the price of grace is priceless.
okay, I don't know what's going on. Stop share. Okay. What are you seeing right now? You should not be seeing
We
anything.
just see the gallery, people.
Okay, good. That's a good sign. Um, so calamity means any kind of a reversal, Chandruji. So it could happen in any form, right? Calamities are some material reversal happens, something bad happens in life, earthquake happens, you lose a near and dear one, there's a financial loss, material loss can happen, somebody breaks your heart, could be anything. So that could be calamity for you, right? It's pretty subjective. So the point here is that you need one incident, and the people who do not have spiritual strength, they will break. And Sona Sajjan Sadhujan, people who have spiritual resilience or assets who have built, they will survive. That is the whole objective of that thing, and I think that's stated in Bible as well. Now, these are the previous one we spoke about. 7. Okay, I went to 7 again. You wanted to say 5 and 6, right? I need to bring that. Okay, any other questions, by the way, before I try to find that?
I had one
Yeah, go ahead.
regarding this Nam and Nami concept. So I think we were discussing it separately, right? That Nami is sitting in the Nam, so God is sitting in his names, right? So if we are simply chanting his name also, is it like bound to happen that his form will eventually start coming?
Right. So this is how it says that, see, the reason why we can't see why Roop Dhyan doesn't work, because of our past sanskars and so many sins that we have, it's not easy for our mind to take there. So the way it unfolds is when you keep on saying name, of course, if you're saying name, if you can bring whatever form you can best. But let's say you are saying name, again, you are saying name with a Bhagavad Bhav, right? When you say Radha, 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 you're not talking about that neighbor's daughter. The feeling is I'm talking about God. That itself will start cleansing you. And then that Nami is in his Nam only. So of course his form will start becoming easier to visualize at that point. And when it starts becoming easy to visualize, like Maharajji Swamiji explained, make it sentient. Then after form, it's easy to enter into Leela. And when you start entering into Leela, you will, start developing bhavs as well. So then it's easy to enter into bhavs. So this is how the process unfolds. So yes, if you're doing name, in fact, Maharajji, I was listening to one of his lectures, old lecture. He was saying, Nam, Bhagavad Bhav is there, it will do its trick. Okay. Something is better than nothing. He used to say that, but he said Bhagavad God, it will still do. But then you do Rup Dhyan, it will amplify it, magnify it, right? That's the end goal. But yes, even if you're taking name with Bhagavad Bhav, it will do its trick. But the thing is, the feeling has to be there.
The
If you're
faith
in Radha
and
and thinking about some material person whose name is Radha, then there is a problem. Okay. But if you're doing it with Bhagavad Bhav, it will do its job there as well. Yes, Kumarji. Okay, I'm just putting the previous ones. If you wanted to see that, let me know which one you want me to focus on. This is the third one. Then the
people are out for fifth and sixth, yeah.
fifth is associate with the true guru. And then I had put in the fifth one. How do you, what are the, some of the yardstick you apply to know who's a true guru? And then the sixth one, I was practice true Karam Yoga that we spoke about yesterday. So hope that helps. If you want me to repeat any slide, please do let me know. Yes, Kumarji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Kumarji.
Yeah, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman. So I was in a spiritual retreat this weekend, and obviously I like anything spiritual, right? So there are a few learnings I got. I got some of the questions answered. One of the things which I found, just want to share with this group, that how do you know a person is realized? Because they had some realized masters in there, this one. And so myself and one more person had this question. And they said, obviously, spiritually, it's very tough to find out. And they're not going to come and say they are realized, right? So, but then it seems in that one, they have a test. So what they do is they start meditating, okay? And when they meditate, they go into this, what is it called? A state wherein even the heartbeat and everything stops. So a doctor can check it. And they'll say, if a doctor checks that person, they'll say, okay, this guy's gone. You just can take him to the shamshan, right? And then after some time, the person will come back. So this is how physically they test that person. Like someone says, you know what, I think I saw the light, is what they kind of do it. But anyway, so this is very something which I
So they
found.
have let me say that they have the ability to go through. These are not big things for them, right? I mean, to be able to do that, but I don't know who's a God realized saint would actually undergo that test to prove that I am, right? And they definitely don't carry those degrees like a lot of people put, right? They will not say I am a Golok return or Saket return, realized saint. They will not flash it. So it's up to us to figure it out. But yes, to your point, if somebody wants to check it out, I mean, if they want to prove it, they would typically not want to. They just enjoy their status and they focus on the purpose they have come for. But yeah, they do have that ability to do that. and sure they will pass that test if ever they were to decide to undergo that, for sure. But I haven't seen any example of a saint undergoing that test to prove that he's truly a saint. So
Yeah,
And
and they have. Sorry, Sandhya was saying something.
no, no, just go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so they had another concept which says uh, self realization is God realization. We can talk about that later because that
no,
is
it's
another
less than it's less
controversial topic.
it's a less than, so it's not a 2 minute topic. We'll talk about that.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Self-realization is not real God realization. Okay, that is a very, very clearly stated concept by Maharaj and Swamiji. A Jnani
Okay,
will say that because he's saying Aham Brahmasmi. Self-realization is not God realization. So that means we are God. Basically, that is essentially what it means. Again, we are going back to Dvait Advait concept. It's a very nuanced discussion. We'll pick it up maybe in one of the
sure.
sessions.
I just have one suggestion because I found this also this one which I have done it twice. I got this what a snippet of knowledge which I want to share is one is of course the bhav is very important when we pray or chant or all those things, but start off anyways, right? Now, one thing is to make it a habit. So even if you, let's say you don't need to do meditate for half an hour, just meditate, let's say start off with 5 minutes, but
Yes,
do it daily, right?
yes,
That
yes,
way kind of it sticks to you. So
yes,
just
Kumar.
want to share that. Thank you.
Yep.
Jai
Yeah.
Shri Ram.
All right. Dash. Jai Shri Ram. Thank you, Kumarji. Dhruvel, all yours. Please go ahead. We have some practical tools Dhruvel is going to talk about. Again, I ran a bit late, but yeah, Dhruvel, all yours now. Sorry about that. We have time. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes, we are able to, Dhruvel. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. Thank you for another opportunity to present a practical tool based on Swamiji and Maharaj's teachings. So last whole week we've talked about 5.19. Today also we're talking about it and talks about equal vision. So in that vein, we'll talk a little bit about a thought process to cultivate equanimity over both the happy and the sad outcomes. And we'll do it in the form of like a flow chart. Um, so yeah, this is material. We're talking in the material happy and material sad outcome. I think divine is probably a slightly different discussion. So so let's get started. Then let's start with the outcome, right? And there are two ways to split the outcome at a high level, happy and sad. So within the materially happy outcome, um, sorry, my slide is a little slow. It's okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we want to think about the material happy outcome firstly as a grace of God, that we haven't really done anything to get it first and foremost. We're the non-doer and all the energy to do anything has come from God. So thinking of it as God's blessing and thanking God, having that gratitude could be very helpful. And then to put it in larger perspective, sure, the outcome is there, but the larger goal is that it's there to help us with our spiritual progress, make our sort of material or physical life a little bit easier so that we can spend some more time or have more energy to focus on the spiritual side. Likewise, when we get to materially outcome that makes us sad, like a material outcome that makes us sad, it's hard to think of it, but I think it's useful to think of it as God's will. I think one way that I often think about it is that at a high level, maybe I didn't get the thing I wanted, someone else got what I wanted, like a promotion, whatever it is. But God would not see it as happy or sad, right? He is, for him, it's happy, for the other person, sad for me, right? So at a high level, it is God's will first and foremost, and it's a chance for purification. I think I have links over here to Swamiji's video, but he has a quote from Sri Aurobindo who talks about, he goes probably two steps even beyond what we might be capable of to start with, which is that he's asking for those sad outcomes or those tough situations so that he can purify himself and not purify himself for his own sake, but so that he can be a jewel in God's treasure chest. So I think having that sort of a mindset will help us accept these sad outcomes a little bit more. Um, so the other aspect to both happy and sad outcomes is that they are illusory or mithya. So I think there's a lot of deep discussion on this, but there are two worlds, the internal world and the external world. Um, so these are coming in the internal world, and they are coming from the mind, and they are born from the mind, because they are not happiness for the soul, which is our true nature. They are happiness for our physical self, our body, our mind, and they're coming due to rag and dvesh. Like, okay, I got something that I wanted, I had attachment to it, that is rag. Or I avoided something that I didn't want, I have aversion towards it, dvesh. I didn't get that, so I'm happy about it. And you can flip exactly that when it comes to the sad, that okay, I wanted something and I didn't get it, I'm sad. I was attached to it. Or I was averse to something and I got it and I'm sad again. I think last week Cash actually had like a nice 2 by 2 sort of graph for it about how rag and dvesh both lead to happiness and sadness. Uh, so, so yeah, another way to think about it is that it is coming from there, and it's not truly for the soul, but for the body and for the mind. Um, they are both finite. So when we get something that makes us happy, often we're like, okay, this is amazing, great. Like, I didn't want anything more in this life. But the reality is that we always want something soon after that. And there is always a bigger happiness. Like Swamiji often talks about, like, everyone wants to be the next person. The ruler of the world wants to be Indra, Indra wants to be Brahma, all that kind of stuff. So there is always a bigger happiness to have, and most importantly, there is the divine happiness, which will be much bigger than any of the material happinesses that we can get, like Prema Anand and Divyanand. So it is finite. I think it's useful to level ourselves by putting that into perspective. And same thing for the sadness. Like, when we are in the moment, we often feel like, okay, there's nothing sadder than this. I'm the saddest person in the world. Very natural to feel that way then. But oftentimes we have to realize that there is a happiness that will reduce the sadness. Very often it's a happiness in the material world itself that can reduce the sadness. But think of it this way, that whatever is making you sad, would you be sad about it if you actually had the divine happiness? Probably, likely not, definitely not. So, so putting it that way, we realize that all these sadnesses are also finite. They also have a limited extent. And lastly, they're both temporary. So whatever wealth, prestige, love, etc. we're gathering in this lifetime, at most it lasts a few days, hours, ends in this lifetime, right? But we've had infinite lifetimes, so think of it, it's just like a dot on the number line, right? It's a very, very small portion. And same thing for sadness. Again, we feel like, okay, we're never going to get out of it. But end of the day, when the life ends at best, the sadness will come to an end. So I think thinking of it that way often helps with regards to happiness and sadness. And to end this, I think if we want an easy way to remember this, they are both gifts from God. Um, so they are both equally gifts from God. I think that's the important way to think about it. I find it very useful. Like, I've actually been trying this lately, and obviously, like, it's not perfect, but certainly is helping. And I've linked a few videos from Swamiji on this, so would definitely recommend taking a look. Radhe Radhe, and thank you.
Thank you, Dhruvil. That is outstanding. I think a lot of thought has gone into it, and the way you have structured it, gift. Loved it. Good going. Thank you so much for taking this initiative. And it's so good to see so many, people coming forward and actually putting this knowledge for their understanding. That's the real thing, right? Very, very good to see that, and definitely very inspiring. So thank you, Dhruvil, for that. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, wow, it was such a thoughtful,
Mm,
excellent,
very true.
creative way of presenting this. Very, very impressive, and I think very impressionable in the mind. So thank you, Dhruv. Yeah.
Yes, gift. You can remember both happiness and sad as gifts. So thank you, Dhruvil, for that. Yes, Rahul, you wanted to say? Rahul is going to say Radhe
Radhe
Radhe.
Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe.
Wait,
I just wanted to say that Govildi, thank you for showing all these beautiful gifts from God. And one thing I wanted to mention in that sad outcome, when we are saying there is a happiness that can reduce this sadness, you might also think that it is only due to the grace of God and Guru that only this thing happened. Much worse things could have happened. Yeah. So
true.
उन्होंने
Very
बचा
true.
लिया हमें इतने में. Yeah, I think that's it.
Very true and very nice. Again, thank you, Dhruval, for giving us these practical tools and building on what we discuss in your own way, the way you process it and present it. So thank you so much for that.
And Uday Kumarji has also put a comment, super apt and wonderful tool to real life progress.
Yes. Good job, Dhruval. I'm sure you put in a lot of thought. A lot of thought goes into it, and that itself is a sadhana in a way, right? And you're putting it, this thought, and sharing it, you get even more grace with that sense, right? So keep up the good work, and thank you again for that. With that, we come to the end of our today's session. Maybe we can do a couple of chants today. It's a good way to end the session. Maybe we
And I
can take
just,
3 hands and wrap
yeah,
it up. Yeah,
I
and
just
please fill out
wanted
the
to
feedback tracker as well.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Feedback tracker link has been shared, but I also wanted to add this that the tool that you saw today, there
Mhm.
have been tools that were coming before this. So all of this is present on the community portal. So if you're really interested, check them out and make use of those. Yeah. Okay, so I'll now share my screen. We could do chanting. This is new, right, Nitinji?
Right. This is a very beautiful verse. So
Yes.
go
Should
ahead.
I?
We'll take
Yeah.
3 hands and then we'll wrap it up. I know we are a little over time, but we can wrap it up before 10:10.
समझ समझ सो शाम को समझ सका नहीं कोई राधे राधे समझ मिले जब शाम की समझ सके बस सोय राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे. O intellect, know for certain that it is impossible to understand Sri Krishna through your limited ability. Only one whom Lord Krishna blesses with a divine intellect can understand him.
That's a beautiful. This one and the next one, they are like pretty awesome. Thank you, Sandhya. Rahul, go ahead.
समझ समझ सो श्याम को समझ सका नहीं कोई राधे राधे समझ मिले जब श्याम की समझ सके बस सोए राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे.
Yeah, this goes back to the sadhan bhakti and siddha bhakti that we're talking about. We do our bit, and then finally, with God's grace, when He makes our intellect divine or gives us divine vision like He gave to Arjun, then only we can see Him or understanding. We don't have the ability to understand God through this tiny,
Material
puny
intellect.
intellect upholder, right? Because it's like trying to understand God using our intellect is like trying to lift yourself using your bootlaces. Try to do that and let me know if you're able to do that. Okay, Dineshji, please go ahead.
Yes, Dinesh, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे समुझ समुझ सो श्याम को समुझ सका नहीं कोय राधे राधे समुझ मिलई जब श्याम की समुझ सके बस सोय राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, thank you. Okay, we can take one more hand, Riyaji, real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
Radhe Radhe Riya ji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
समुझ समुझ सो शाम को समुझ सका नहीं कोई राधे राधे समुझ मिले जब श्याम की समुझ सके बस सोय राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे
Thank you,
राधे
Riyaji.
राधे.
Radhe. And thank you, everyone, for your engagement and for your participation. So Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll introduce the next shloka after a long discussion on this one. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please fill out the feedback tracker if not already. And Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you everyone for your amazing participation. Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.